This is Tiqqle, and in this video we're going over the Enhanced Shaman PvP guide for 9.1. Not a lot has changed, but there are some things that you really need to know because of some recent nerfs. So let's go ahead and jump into it. If you do like this content or other Shaman stuff, make sure to check the links down below, hit that sub button, that like button, and let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, first things first, if you want to see the full extent of this guide, I have it on a Google Doc. Make sure to check that out in case you want to see that. It'll have pretty much everything you need to know, including the rotation. I also have timestamps in the bottom, but let's go ahead and move on to the first topic. What's new for 9.1 for Enhanced Shaman? Number one, they have added a few PvP talents. These are the biggest changes to Enhanced Shaman. There aren't too many. Number one, you're getting Seasoned Winds. Interrupting a spell with Wind Shear decreases the damage taken from that spell school by 15% for 12 seconds. This is the same duration as the cooldown of Wind Shear, meaning you can basically have this damage reduction for a particular school up all the time. This can be very useful against spell cleaves, especially against the Shadow School, where you get those Affliction Warlocks, Shadow Priests that are always rotting you with damage. Next up would probably be Boomkins, who have their dots running all the time, and then the Nature School being pretty easy to defend against. Now, the other thing you want to know is that against Destro Warlocks, DHs, and other classes, where they're using an ability that is from multiple schools, like Chaos Bolt, if you interrupt that, you'll actually get resistance, 15% resistance to that damage by for all the schools. So that's like 5 different schools, like Fire, Frost, Nature, whatever, from interrupting Chaos Bolt. Not that useful on healers, but sometimes it could be interrupting a Holy School when you're fighting a Ret Paladin. Now, the next thing up is Static Shield Totem. This was first seen on the Elemental Shaman in patch 9.1 changes, but this is where you put down a circle and it's a static field. They can run into it, but they cannot run out of it. Now, they can't even bubble out of it. You can't hunt out of it. You can't do the DH leap out of it. Nothing. But it does have only 10% of the Shaman's HP, which is about 4k, so you zip through that pretty quickly when you're DPSing it. Now, the last change is Unleash Shield. This is actually a pretty cool ability. Now, for Enhance, it's questionable how valuable it is, but there's really 2 uses. A Lightning Shield, when you put on Lightning Shield and then you use this ability, you're able to knock people. This could be used as a heal, an interrupt. You can knock healers interrupting them, or a Mage Polymorph, you can knock them. Or you could use it as a root using Earth Shield. That root will not share diminishing returns with other roots, so that's actually very useful, and you can spam that well, you can use every 30 seconds. Now, those are pretty okay. Now, one of the other changes that happened in 9.1 is that the healing of Healing Surge was nerfed. The healing amount from Healing Surge was nerfed by 20%. But we're going to go ahead and talk about how we can counteract that nerf with even more healing. Now, the next thing is stat priorities. For stat priorities, it's agility, versatility, haste, crit, and then mastery. After that, Covenant-wise, I don't think you're going to be that surprised to hear, but you're sticking with the Venthyr. Now, why are you doing that? Well, you're doing that because it is incredible. Chain Harvest is super, super strong, and to be honest, the Soulbind tree has actually gotten even stronger for PvP. I think many classes are going to lean towards this one potentially just because of the final conduit power, which is this Fatal Flaw. Fatal Flaw, when the haste effect of Euphoria ends, which is what's kind of always running, that once it gets to a certain amount of stacks, you get a haste proc of 20% for 10 seconds. Once that is done, you then get a buff of 20%, which will be Verse. You'll get 20% increased damage. And if you think about it, Verse also benefits from your Trinket 2 set, which means you're basically getting about 25% benefit from this, which is going to help you buff up your burst window, which you have every 1 minute, as everyone knows, using Doomwind. So this is really going to be the tree. You're going to, of course, go Unruly Winds. You're also going to want to go Totemic Surge to get that utility off more often, the slow, the tremor, the cap. You can go ahead and use Focus Lightning. This will benefit your heals as well as your casted abilities like Lightning Bolt or Chain Harvest. Now, you're going to go down this tree, which will give you the reduced, snares, etc. But this is the new difference, using Swirling Currents. And a shout out to Jibby. If you guys don't know Jibby, you should definitely check out his Twitch channel, playing pretty much only Enhancement Shaman. A really, really good player. Check that out below. We were playing some 2v2. You'll see those that video coming up. But basically, we were talking about this. If you use Swirling Currents, this will allow you to counteract counteract that 20% nerf. You're able to drop Healing Stream Totem, and then all of a sudden you get plus 30% heals on your next 3 healing surges. Now, frankly, you can only ever really get 2 healing surges off, so it kind of lines up perfectly. And by the time you have enough Maelstrom weapon stacks, later you'll be able to have the, the cooldown of Healing Stream Totem back up. And then you also run for Refreshing Waters. Again, this is your healing surges 23% or whatever the percentage is more effective. This is going to counteract that nerf as well. And you're actually going to get even more healing from this because it all goes with Earth Shield and everything. So healing is actually fine. You'll just have to line it up with that Healing Stream Totem for maximum efficiency. In terms of talents, I don't think you're going to be very surprised. Pretty much the boilerplate normal setup that you have here. The only thing you want to make sure you do is go Feral Lunge more often against range, and do not go Nature's Guardian when you're against a priest. Mind games will make this kill you. All this is going to be written up, by the way, on the Icy Veins guides. I write all of them for all the shamans, and I also have all the shaman specs down below in the comments in case you want to check that out. Now, in terms of PvP talents, frankly, you might think to yourself, well, Tiqqle, what about the change to Ride the Lightning? Well, they basically made it this patch so it won't break CC. Well, that's nice, but really this is padding damage that's often just not necessary. What you're going to be using more often than not, and you'll see it in the PvP videos that we're going to have coming up, is you're probably more often than not going to use Swelling Waves, which will allow you to heal yourself and be more effective, and then Static Field Totem. If you're using this, the benefit of this is that when you put it down on the ground, it's going to be like a Curian Spear. You're going to get at least a little bit of it, making sure that you get some uptime when you pop your burst cooldowns. The reason for that is Enhance has a tough time keeping up on casters, keeping up with classes with ports like a Warlock, a Windwalker, anything like that. So being able to lock them down, because you can't use those things, you can't even DH run away if you have Static Field Totem down. Now again, they could just kill it, but let's not let them know that. Now, otherwise, you might say, well, you're not using Shamanism, you're not using Thunder Charge. Shamanism was taken off the board once it cost about 20% of your mana, and obviously, mana is huge for Enhancement Shamans because they need it to survive. Now, Grounding Totem, I do see this potentially not always being picked into the meta that's coming up because of Mistweavers potentially being back, and some, Paladins. When you use it against a Paladin, you're really trying to, like, ground a Hodge, which is honestly kind of like something you're trying to do. Like, it's not likely that that's going to happen if they're paying attention, versus, if I were to go against a caster team, I probably would still go grounding. I wouldn't go Static Field. I'd probably go Seasoned Winds. So the combinations that we can go are really going to go between Grounding Totem, Seasoned Winds, Swelling when you're against casters, or if you're against melee, and even honestly with this, you might even go Unleash so that you can root them or knock them. Or if you're against melee, you really are going to have to probably go with Static, Swelling, Grounding. So again, there's going to be a lot of changes of builds. We'll have more videos about builds on this channel as we get the season rolling. Remember, we just started. Okay, we haven't even started yet when I'm making this video. We're about to start. We'll figure it out as we go. There's a lot of classes that are really look like they're going to be pretty awesome, but we'll have to see how that works out. One of the last things we'll talk about is Legendaries. Basically, Doom Winds. It's the best. Now, Frost Witch is possible, but not yet. We're not quite there yet. It might be viable if Mastery is able to be used. It's just not really clear. Now, for Burst Rotation, I want to show you the spreadsheet really quick. In the spreadsheet, I do have a specific tab called Doom Winds. This is how you do your burst. It explains how Doom Winds works because it does only proc off of, Storm Strike, Sunder, Crash, or Ice Strike meme. But what you want to be doing is following this burst, Ascendance into Wind Strikes, or you can skip the Wind Strike if you want, but Ascendance into Doom Winds, and then you pop all your damage from here. Okay, you don't need to worry about the AoE. That's for Mythic Plus and optimizing that. You want to just focus on the single target and laying down the law and bursting as hard as you can. You might even want to use Sunder earlier if you want to stun them, but in terms of optimizing your DPS, this is probably what you're going to be using. Now, if you have any questions about this, make sure to hit me down below, but that's about that. Now, in terms of macros, there's not really that many. You want to make sure you have a macro for healing your teammate. You want to make sure you have a Lust or Thunder Charge macro like I'm showing on the screen, as well as a Focus Interrupt. Focus Interrupt is so important. Shamans that's one of their main utilities. We gotta interrupt the important cast. That's game changing, and it's so annoying to go against. And then I also included some @cursor macros to show you how to drop those totems without having to press twice, which is kind of a little bit of a perk. But with that being said, guys, that's it for the video. I wanted to just break it down pretty quickly. Enhance hasn't changed all that much. You'll be seeing me play it on stream every day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/TiqqleThis, and on this YouTube channel, pumping all Shaman specs. And with that being said, thanks for the support, and we'll see you on stream every day or in the next video. Take care.